Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. All right, so it is time for Tech Tuesday. So remember, Mondays are Music Moment Mondays and Tech Tuesday. So we're doing Technique Tuesday, and today's technique is support. Now, I could really break this up into multiple weeks. So there might be a part two, a part three, or even a part four to support. Now, when it comes to support as a vocalist, the way that we uh, the way that we go about supporting is interesting. So if you are a younger singer or performer, you probably hear the term diaphragm all the time. The diaphragm. Sing from the diaphragm. Sing using the diaphragm. Now, here's the thing, you cannot sing from the diaphragm, okay? You can use the diaphragm as a tool to teach, and we use that a lot as a tool to teach, but you cannot actually sing from the diaphragm. So, what is your diaphragm? Well, so your lungs are like these two bags filled with air that go like this in your body. Well, towards the bottom of that, there's a muscle, and that muscle contracts and expands those airbags. So hiccups are a muscle contraction of the diaphragm. That diaphragm is squeezing really fast, and it's causing the air to try to get out, and a lot of it's trying to get out of a very small hole, and so you're getting a traffic jam of air, and that's why you get that feeling. All right. So that's why a lot of people sometimes say, hold your breath for 10 seconds or whatever. That always works for me. Now, so when it comes to support, though, we have to use a lot of different forms and everything. So you can sing supported loud, you can sing supported soft or quietly. Support can be how long you are, when you support a note to hit a high note, or to hit a longer note, or to even go down there. Even, I know a piece, when big profundo sang lo si. That takes support as well. If I just throw it out, when big profundo sang lo, lo, it almost sounds like I'm bottoming out, like I can't hit the note. When big profundo sang lo si. Same thing if I were going to sing something else higher. If I go up to sail, even though I'm going to my falsetto right now, say, that takes some support to get all the way up there to achieving that. So, support means how we are using the air to the best of our ability. All right. So, you ever been swimming and you and your friends are going to, hey, let's hold our so you can hold their breaths the longest underwater. Most people always go, and you raise your chest. Well, that's a shallow, shallow breath. As a matter of fact, you can even hear how shallow it is. I used to get in trouble, well, not in trouble, but that was one of the hardest things that I struggled with as a performer, and still to this day. So, where you can't hear me breathe. So, if I'm in the middle of singing something, really, now you can't hear it, but if I'm in the middle of going, I will take a very loud breath in a moment. But if you're that's causing you don't want to raise this. You're pulling tension here, and you're not really getting any air in. That's a very high, very shallow breath. Our lungs expand down and out, so we want to, yeah, like that. So we want to get fat, and there's nothing wrong with, as a singer, getting a little fat. As a matter of fact, professionally, when you're measured for a costume, they'll say, okay, be natural, and they'll take your chest size or whatever, and then they'll say, okay, now breathe in, because when you breathe in, you actually breathe out. This is all going to expand. So sometimes some performers get, maybe an inch and a half. Some get all the way up to 3-4 inches of expansion here, as they're going to fill that cavity up with air, and then they're going to use that air to continue to perform. So, how do we go about finding support? So, okay, so let's go back to the swimming example. So people go, and then the second thing that they do is they go. Now, the only thing with that is all the air is here, and here it does you no good. You need the air down here in order so the oxygen is still getting to the heart. The oxygen is getting mixed in with the blood so that the blood can, get the heart to pump, and the heart can pump the oxygen and the blood to the rest. So there's a lot of things. So does nothing. Now when we're singing though, I'm obviously moving air out. Now, if you're playing trumpet, a lot of brass instruments or things, you can do something called circle breathing. Circle breathing is a little harder to do, but it does show you how to support. It really does show you how to support. And so I'll have a little quick tidbit video later on what circle breathing is. And I am not a brass player, but I do have an instrument that I can show you on how to circle breathe. So anyway, supporting. How do we find the support? Where do we breathe then, Mr. Will? If we can't breathe from, if we don't breathe from our diaphragm like my teacher said, where do we breathe from? All right, so here on the sides, I want you to take your fingers, take your thumbs and your index finger, and you're going to feel your ribs. Feel in there, yeah, get in there, all in that good meaty spot. Now find in between two ribs. Now those are called your intercostal muscles, okay? Say intercostal muscles. Yeah, there it is, intercostal muscles. If you've ever eaten ribs before, that's the good stuff that you eat. When you're sucking the sauce and the meat off the bones and they fall off, that's what you're eating. So we want to take that and we want to expand. So like that, yeah. So if we're going to sing, I wonder as I wander out under the sky. If G. So we're expanding every time. Now, there are a lot of good uses of this expansion. And, you say, oh, yeah, but I'm still running out of air. Well, I'm going to play you a couple of examples of people who really use that, they expand really well. Okay, so the first one is Mr. Alfie Boe singing Music of the Night. We're only going to listen to a little bit of it so we can get that expansion here.
Nighttime sharpens, heightens each sensation.
Breathe.
Darkness stirs and wakes imagination.
Breathe.
Silently the senses abandon their defenses, helpless to resist the notes I write, for I compose the music of the night.
So, in what you just heard was about 45 seconds of music. Mr. Boe probably sang for 30 of those seconds and he took 5 breaths. Now, that is not by any way, super spectacular. Nighttime sharpens, heightens each sensation. Darkness stirs, but you notice the level of support all the way through. A lot of times, especially with younger performers, nighttime sharpens, heightens each sensation. As we start to run out of air, we start to squeeze like you're trying to get the last little bit of toothpaste out of toothpaste out of the tube, and that's actually what we don't want to do. You want to feel like you're expanding that out. Nighttime sharpens, heightens each sensation. So then that way, we're not heightens each sensation. And another thing that young performers do is they have the tendency that when they're running out of air, but it's supposed to be a long note, they hang on to it for as long as possible. You want the same amount of support when you cut off and you release as you do when you're singing. So, open up your mind, let your fantasies unwind in this dark So wind in this dark, and I took a little what we call a catch breath. It was a very short breath, just to allow me to finish the rest of the phrase. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm gonna take you up to the nice part.
Let your mind start a journey through a strange new world. Leave all thoughts of the life you knew before. Let your soul take you where you long to be.
Now, really quickly. So, what he did there was utilized that support. Let your soul take you where you long to be. Now, I had to flip into my falsetto because I am not a tenor like Mr. Bo. Mr. Bo is an operatic tenor. I am not. I am a bass baritone. So, but he still used that support up there. So he did not punch the note. He almost just opened his mouth and let that note fall out, as if I'm talking to you. Want to be. And it was not pushed. We don't want to push. We want to support that sound. You can move air and support and not push. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're using the air. We're expanding here. And he took a breath way before that. But like I said, he's a trained opera singer, an operatic tenor. So his lung capacity, what he can expand in and take in and utilize, is a lot different than what you may be able to utilize, but you can learn how to do this. And it's just a lot of different breathing exercises. So one thing you can do is you sit down, stand up, whatever. Now, if you're going to sit down, you need to sit towards the front part of the chair, and keeping a nice good posture. Take a deep breath in, and then slowly let it out as if you're a car tire losing air. So breathe in. Do that and let all the air run out. Then wait a little bit, don't you do a couple of those in a row, you might feel a little lightheaded, but you want to get that release of pressure, that release of air. You want to try to slow that all the way down. Because what you're going to feel is your stomach starting to come in, and you want to fight that sensation. So you want your stomach to stay nice and low, everything to stay expanded, while you're still releasing that air. Okay, so that is support. So now you can use that support, as I said, towards high notes. So we're going to listen to that high note one more time because it's really, really good.
Let your mind start a journey through a strange new world. Leave all thoughts of the life you knew before.
Breathe.
Let your soul take you where you long to be. Only then can you belong to me.
And you notice he didn't be. Only no, because that would have ruined what he just set up. So be. Only then. Very nice onset and resetting. Okay. Now, you can also use this to hold out notes. So like I said, using that exercise. So this is a barbershop quartet, and their names are Vocal Spectrum, and their tenor does some amazing things. His lung capacity is absolutely amazing. I have two examples that I'm going to play for you. Now, here's the thing. When you're singing barbershop quartet, at the end of a barbershop quartet piece, there's something called typically a post. Now, the post does not have to always be in the tenor part. Sometimes it can be in the bass, sometimes it can be in the baritone. It can be anywhere. But a lot of times it's the tenor part, and the tenor holds out the note, and the chord moves around that, and it moves around that, and then it finds its spot, and then it finally settles into it. And that note is what we would call a pedal tone. If it were in the bass and we were listening to classical music, we would call that a pedal tone. So it's boom, and then everything moving around it or whatever, we call that a pedal tone. So this is a version of a pedal tone. So here is Cruella DeVille by Vocal Spectrum. And I want you to count to see how long he holds out this note, okay?
This fiendish cat will never change her spots. No, that vampire bad, that inhuman beast. She ought to be locked up and
you'll hear it's a pretty high note too.
And if she were, nobody would be sad, not sad. Cruella, oh,
Here it comes. Breathe.
She's bad, evil, demented, and mad. She'd smother your brother and blister your sister and torture your mother and dad. Her mind is a pile of malice and guile, but kindness not even a tad. Cruella, she's bad, bad, bad.
It's still going.
So bad.
So, how long did you hear him hold that note for? Yeah, it was pretty long. I set a stopwatch, and my stopwatch said that he held that note for about 37 seconds. So make sure that you know, maybe my stopwatch is wrong, but so we're going to listen to that again. But listen to how he holds that note out, and it never wavers. The thing with barbershop is they rely heavily off of straight tone, which I'm not the biggest fan of straight tone, but they rely off of straight tone because it allows that ringing. So at the end, you do hear a couple of extra notes. You'll hear more than 4 notes, and there are only 4 voices singing. So here we go again. Here we go.
And if she were, nobody would be sad, not sad. Cruella, oh, Cruella.
Go.
She's bad, bad, evil, demented, and mad. She'd smother your brother and blister your sister and torture your mother and dad. Her
Solid
mind
as
is
a rock
pile
up
of
there.
malice and guile, but kindness not even a tad. Cruella, she's bad, bad, bad. So bad.
So listen to that really quickly. I know it has nothing to do with the technique of support, but it kind of does. They're supporting those notes underneath. There's one voice on top, but you can actually hear the chord going all the way up if you listen really closely.
Cruella, she's bad, bad, bad.
I hear 4 voices.
So bad.
Yeah, I'm not a soprano, but you can hear it at the end. That's the cool thing about barbershop. So that's why they don't really do a lot of vibrato. They do that straight tone so they can lock into those tones, so they can unlock those. So the guys who write barbershop are absolutely great. All right, so we're going to do another one by them really quickly called Go the Distance. And it's, once again, another one to where he's, it's not as long, but still just as much support. Here we go.
I'll be beyond, and maybe I can go the distance before the world, and I'll be fearless, proud, and strong. I will please my God. I can go the distance till I find my hero's welcome right. I'll find it where, right there where
Here it goes.
I belong.
Go. And the thing is, so one, we heard that overtone at the end. It was right there at the end. But the amount of support, they held that out at the end. So not only did he hold, and it didn't even sound like he took that long of a breath. So his level of support that he uses from down here, he's feeling an expansion the entire time. I actually have heard him speak before, and he talks about that feeling of expansion and that feeling of his weird way of thinking about it. But so that's what we aim for. Now, what if we're in, a musical setting? Now, so those guys perform, it's just four of them, they stand there and sing. This happens in musicals too. So I'm going to play just a little bit of a musical. So for those of you musical fans, this is something that you might recognize a little bit more. This is the end of Out There with Michael Arden from the Hunchback of Notre Dame cast.
And then I swear I'll be content.
So think he's moving around and contorted while he's singing this on stage.
Won't resent, won't despair, old and bent, I won't care. I'll have spent one day out there.
Yeah. So in that one, spend one day, that takes a lot of support. You can't just spend one day. So that takes a lot of support to get up there, and then to out there to hold that note out pretty long. So really good. And guys, just so you know, all of these videos that we're talking about today, I will post the links right underneath there. Oh, please also don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can, and then ring that bell notification icon so that you can get notified every time I post a new video. But yeah, so I'll put all of the links underneath there so you can go and listen to these songs. Tell me, what kind of support are you hearing? Go and listen to all those Barbershop Quartet songs. There's so much support in there. Now, here's two more that I'm going to play for you. So all of these have been men showing support. Women can show support too. And so when we go up higher, it takes a lot more air. It takes a lot more air to move. So I'm going to play you a clip by a group called Voctave. Now, it is a Christmas song, but it's one of my favorite songs that they do. And they have a soprano in the group, and her name is Kate. And Kate is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And so Kate does a lot with holding out these posts, basically like you heard with the barbershop, but slightly different because it's a female and a higher, and she has these whistle tones. But we're going to listen to that so you can hear the support she has. She's on the top.
The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the Lamb.
There she is holding. She's holding. She's holding. She's holding. She's holding. She takes a breath. Now, the only thing that's different about what you heard there and what you hear in Barbershop is she actually sang that note. In Barbershop, you would hear that and you would hear the ring. But once again, it takes a lot of support to do that. And Mr. Lowry is singing over the top too. We're not going to discredit him, but we were trying to go for the ladies there. But he was one of the gentlemen who wrote this song, holding that note out.
The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again.
See if you can hold this note with him. Here he goes.
The praises of the
Go. So that's another really, really, really good example of support. Lamb, feeling that expansion. So we use, as singers, we use a lot of support, and don't worry, you instrumentalists use just as much support. It takes a lot of air to blow those horns and to do all of that. So we use support all over through music. All right, so now I'm gonna show you one more example. And so a lot of times they're like, I have students, man, I heard this choir sing, and there was this one song, and it felt like they were holding on to it forever. And that does happen, but that is you're using support. But when you're hearing long notes, sometimes in a choral setting or in a long elongated setting with a group of people, they're using a method of breathing called staggered breathing. So staggered breathing is where, you know, I'm singing and there's another bass next to me, and we're not going to breathe at the same time. So I'm going to take a breath and slowly sneak back in, and then he'll wait a little bit and he'll take a breath and he'll slowly sneak back in, and then we'll wait. So we weave our way through, but your ears only hear one note. So this is the King Singers. They're singing a song called MLK. Very, very nice tune. Here we go. So that's that note right there. That's called a drone.
And may your dreams be realized. If the thundercloud passes rain, so let it rain.
It sounds like that's not stopping, but that does take a lot of support as well. And they're gonna slide up. Now you heard a voice. You heard I did hear a breath. So you can hear the breaths coming back in. And listen, those basses, hang on to it. Which takes just as much support. A lot of times, if you're not trained well as a bass, you don't support well. And so you have to make sure you're supporting down there. Passes rain, so let it rain. Let it rain. Rain on me. There you go. So there are lots and lots and lots of good signs of support and good signs of good examples. I shouldn't say signs, good examples of support. So when you're listening to a professional singer, they are using support. And so, like I said, we're going to probably do a 2 and a 3-parter to where we actually go in more depth of how to support. But remember, you know, that's how we don't hurt ourselves. This, for us singers, you know, we have to also use this to communicate. So not only do we talk with this thing all day long, but we have to use it as our instrument. And it needs to stay well lubricated, and we need to move air through there. And if you're moving air, you know, half butt through there, then it's going to only get half butt production. So you got to make sure that you're giving 100%. And, you know, you don't have to blow your pipes, but you have to make sure that you're using the right amount of support and things, so that way you're staying vocally healthy when you're performing. All right. Well, guys, this has been really fun today. I hope you learned something. I hope this was very informative. And if you have questions, please remember, ask Mr. Will Music at gmail.com, or you can shoot me a message here. And I would love to help you out, and I'd love to be there for you. And so I will see you tomorrow for What's New Wednesday. What's New Wednesday is going to be tomorrow. All right, guys, you enjoy the rest of your day. I am going to actually hang out on the balcony because it's really, really nice. It's really, really, really nice. So you guys have a really good day. I'm going to I'm going to listen to some more music. Listen to some more music. See you later, guys.
Sleep tonight, and may your dreams be realized. If there